Yeah, I'll have to re-download that real quick. I had to make a ton of room for Hitman 2. It was
on the PS5.
Yeah.
How much? How big is the hard drive on that thing?
I downloaded like all the old maps too, so I think.
Oh, but how big is the hard drive on that thing though?
800 G's.
And you filled it up already?
I've got like Monster Hunter World on it.
All those games are like a fucking 100 gigs or like 90 gigs or some shit. Yeah.
Get an extension.
I haven't been talking about it, but I'm casually playing Monster Hunter World, but I'm not really liking it, so I don't think I'm ever going to talk about it really.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And DJ Mandolini.
Yo.
And I don't know how long it's been, but I feel like it's been a little while since we've not been full strength on the podcast. But just the three of us tonight. We're missing Randall while he's studying up for the end of the semester. But we're just going to dig right in. And John, why don't we start with you with a little update from, I think last week, maybe 2 weeks ago? No, it was last week.
Yeah, I think it was last week. Yeah. So I've been playing Dark Souls 2, and I believe DJ has been as well. But
I mean, beat it and moved on.
Was playing it.
Yeah, DJ has completed his most recent run of Dark Souls 2, and I am taking my time just luxuriating in this game.
How are you feeling? Like, what are the updates, John, since last time you played?
Oh man, I can't even remember like where we left off. I think I probably had unlocked pyromancy at that point, and like just in terms of mechanics, like the biggest update I feel from like 1 and 2 is that you have an additional equipment slots so that you can cycle through. Like in 1, you just had like 2 weapons that you could cycle through. And in this one, you have 3. So basically, once I found my 3 like weapon slots of like pyromancy, a bow, and an axe, I was like, cool, I don't need any other equipment for the rest of this game. Yeah. And like that was just like super convenient and nice. And yeah, I like found my setup, found my groove, and I've just been playing and loving every
I was going to say, you're still like into it, because I know Dark Souls 2 kind of gets considered like, at least of the Dark Souls trilogy of games, like I feel like that's kind of considered the odd one out.
Yeah, it's definitely the easiest, and I think that's the reason why I'm loving it so much. Because like, yeah, it does have like the penalties that were present in Demon Souls, but not in Dark Souls 1, but like those are super easy to like just bypass or like get over. Like it's not as restrictive as it was in the very beginning of the game for me. Like I'm at the point where I think the main difference that I'm finding between at least Dark Souls 1 and 2 is that like in Dark Souls 1, like it's a game that like demands you play on its terms. So like, yes, you have a variety of weapons and a variety of classes that you can kind of tailor to like your preferred play style, but like the bosses are incredibly brutal. The areas are like really restrictive, and you really have to play it kind of the way that it was intended to be played. And I feel like in 2, I just have so many more options, and it's a lot easier to tailor the game experience to the way that I want to play it, as opposed to the way that the game is designed to be played.
I see. Okay.
And like, that's, I think, the reason why I'm loving this game as much as I am, because like I'm, not having, like, I'm not running up against walls where I'm like, all right, I can't do this, or I need to learn to do this. It's like, okay, I can take this a little bit at a time and advance like as far as I want to. Like there have been a few times where, I've gotten in over my head, but like I can pretty much like play as carefully as I want, and it doesn't like, I'm not penalized for that. So that's how that's been my experience, at least.
And is it easier because there's like more checkpoints, or like what about it is easier? Or is it just because you've been able to kind of customize it to your play style a little bit more? Because I'm not as familiar with Dark Souls, but the first one is definitely very deliberate. Like everything you do, you have to just learn every enemy pattern and figure it out. And
I think it's both, because there is still like, I am still like doing the like combat loops of like, you know, engaging enemies like on like learning their patterns and like learning the environment that they're occurring in, so that I know like how to engage with everything and on that small level. But like there are way more checkpoints. There are like, it's a lot easier to just zip around the map like right from the beginning. So like, I don't know. I do think like it just adds just a little bit of flexibility to a game that is like, or a series that is inflexible. And I think that
otherwise
really
pretty restrictive. Yeah. What about you, DJ? Like, do you agree with that sentiment that Dark Souls 2 is the easiest of the bunch, and being that you just played through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the enemy designs are a bit easier, and that kind of goes hand in hand with being able to, you know, approach different situations the way you want to. There were just like this playthrough, there were just like too many bosses though that I just like encountered for the first time, and like the fight was done. Not like I'm saying like the first time I got to the boss on this run, like, and I'll beat him within like 2 minutes. And it's like, this is kind of. I don't know.
But is that just you talking, like being that you've played it before? And again, I know we mention all the time, but you're probably the best gamer of all of us on the podcast.
No, it feels like it feels the most like when I'm hitting a boss, like it feels like more of their health is going down than it feels like in the other ones. It just feels like I'm just stronger, and like I don't think I don't think it's because I'm like any more like my character's any stronger, but I don't know. I've been a lot more liberal with just using like the special souls, like when you defeat a boss. I'm like, I'm not going to get any of these special items or whatever, like, which like, I don't know. Like, I feel like whenever I see anyone's like shade, like during the game, like I feel like they've always got like the, I don't know, super huge weapons and everything. I just have like my one-handed axe. I'm like, I'm fine with that. I'm like, am I doing this wrong? Like, because whenever I've tried to like switch that, it's like, man, like my attack is so slow, and I just don't like this. Like, I don't understand. Like, is it just because it's so cool to like have these unique weapons, or are they good for PvP, or like it's.
Maybe they're just big like Monster Hunter fans. They're like, we love those deliberate attacks that take 4 seconds to execute.
Or maybe like, if they're like the super like boss soul weapons, I don't know, like, because I've never played with those. Like maybe they do like you only have to land 2 hits and then you kill your enemy.
Fair. But
and I wonder if like this is just like from the feedback, you know, the reviews and whatnot after Dark Souls 1, you know, being so difficult, and that even though that is like the reason the game got so much praise, I wonder if they kind of pulled it back on Dark Souls 2 a little bit, thinking maybe we need to make it a little more accessible for people. I don't know.
I mean, it could be, but they definitely went back closer to 1 when they did 3. So maybe they realized they went too far with 2. And they found the perfect.
I don't know. They didn't go far enough. No,
do you feel like? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I do feel like the bosses are plentiful and easier. Like I've mistakenly entered a couple boss fights like without planning it. Like I was like, oh, this is probably just going to be a next area when I go through a fog gate, and then I enter it, and then the little like bar like appears at the bottom of the screen of the boss's health, and I'm like, ah, shit. Like I instantly like just as quick as I can scroll through all my pyromancy to see how many spells charges I have left over or how many I've used, and like it's but at the same time I've never felt like. I mean, every time that I've died to a boss, I've never felt despair, or like I've never been like, oh, like I've been like, okay, I see what I did wrong. I know what I can do. Like, yes, I have beaten a ton of the bosses on my first try, like that, and that never happened in Dark Souls 1. So yes, I think that bosses are hitting for less, and they're, maybe a little bit easier to telegraph their attacks or to figure out their patterns. But I don't know. That's just the speed that I want to play the game.
I was going to say that might be what's keeping you plugging along, as opposed to like what kept you like kind of, or not. I know you kept plugging away at the first one for a while too, but like I don't think you played all the way through, and it sounds like you're maybe going to see this one through.
I'm planning on it. I'm planning on like going to every area, doing every DLC boss, and
dang!
Yeah. I'm about 3/4 of the way through the main game.
Nice.
So I could, and I've been taking my time and going to necessary areas as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
I only did the DLC in one of my 3 playthroughs, and like that's definitely where I felt the most challenge, especially like there's the last one. I don't want to spoil it, but
what's the name of it?
I don't know the name. It's like kind of a wintry kind of atmosphere, but
because I
remember getting particularly pissed at that point. Nice. So I'm interested in what you'll think, but
I just went to the Sanctum City and the Dragon Sanctum. I think after that, like it's 2 areas, like right after.
Yeah.
And like it was kind of in a way where like I couldn't go back like to the bonfire. Like it kind of like there was a platform that I fell down, so then I had to like just keep pushing forward, and I'm like, I really don't want to use like a homeward bone to like unless I absolutely have to. And I just like the first enemy that I encountered like was resistance to like fire and to magic, and like that's what my weapon was, like magic enchanted, so I was doing like no damage to it, and I was like, all right, this sucks, this is bad, I'm piecing out of here as soon as I can.
Damn.
So I'm pumped to like go back.
You've got all the primal bonfires then, don't you?
I have 3 primal bonfires lit.
I must be thinking of a different area that you're in then, because I thought you're like approaching some endgame shit.
It could be.
No. There's no. There's no way.
DJ's just like, that's not the end, John. It's not the end. You're about halfway through.
I've gone to Drag-like Castle, but I've not gone inside.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because you were able to fucking bypass that. I didn't even know that was possible.
The game allows you either need to defeat like the 4 main bosses or have over 1 million souls, which is an absurd amount to not have gotten to the 4 main bosses.
Right.
And I just went there and it was like, all right, you can go through. And I was like, cool, let's see how this area is. And immediately pieced out.
Yeah. And after you said this was your 3rd playthrough, DJ?
Yeah. Because, I especially wanted to do this because I knew that there was like at least one boss that I had like never faced before. And I think that, I think that's the case. Like, I think I've cleared all the bosses and all the other ones at this point. I mean, I had to like look stuff up to be like, okay, like who did I miss?
How do I activate this? Or
but I think as of now, I've fought all the Dark Souls bosses, which is cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't technically say the same about Sekiro, so I guess I have to go back.
Yeah, you got to go back for a couple more playthroughs.
Yeah. But no, like I'm really glad I was able to do the last couple bosses that I had been missing, because they like, man, John, you're gonna have to look some shit up because like some stuff was just not super intuitive, or maybe I just don't like test the boundaries of things as much as other people do.
Interesting.
But like, I want to like tell you to like not use certain items, or like
what? Does that like wall me off to content, or
not strictly speaking, but effectively it can. Like there's okay, this kind of a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's
minor spoiler alert.
There's one boss who this was the first time I'd beaten him, but it's an optional boss where his defense is based on how many of a certain item you have. And if you don't have any, it's like times 64 defense. Like
What?
he was like impossible for me to beat. And I couldn't get that item back. It was like an item you can't get back.
So you need to have the item.
You need to have the item. There's nothing that would like. I looked at the description of the item. Like I don't think there was anything in the game itself that would make you think like that. Yes. Like I definitely just like read it online. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Okay, is it a normal consumable or is it like a weird item?
It's a weird item.
Fun.
Are you guys trying to say you need to read the item descriptions in this game to like progress in general, or is this just to do like some secret stuff? Because I was going to say like there is a 0% chance I'm ever going to play these. I can't even read the story half the time in a video game.
For some of the secret stuff, like you do have to read the descriptions, but
I do appreciate that, like reward the people, like for a game that is like this that people are going to want to maybe go back to again and again, like that's really cool that there's like incentive to go back. I do appreciate that. It's just,
and also
like,
has
if I have to read every item description
that you can go through like without doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Not that I'm going to play these games anyways, but like I was like there's 0 chance if that's the case. But yeah, we've all been playing a couple of newer games lately, and one that was just released. I know we've talked PICO-8 on the podcast a few times, John and I in particular, but Celeste, the original game, was like the concept was conceived on PICO-8, and you can even play that in like the full version of the game. I think now they call the PICO-8 game Celeste Classic, and for the 3rd anniversary of the full release of Celeste, they actually released over the course of 3 days, they made Celeste Classic 2, which is you play as a whole new character. It's actually called Celeste 2 Lani's Trek. And yeah, it's a whole new character and actually a whole new mechanic. You actually don't have a dash jump anymore. You actually have a grappling hook. Mm-hmm. And you pretty much, it's kind of a more limited grappling hook. You can only fire it off to the left or the right. You can't fire it up or down. Like in, Celeste, you had your octo-directional dashing. But in this, you just have a grappling hook, but it does let you kind of scale up the wall in certain ways. It's a little more puzzly, I would say. Although it definitely gets into some action as well. But I ended up playing all the way through this the other night. I actually did a stream of it, which was super fun. Probably took about 25 minutes, and the original PICO-8 Celeste took me about 20 minutes or so. But I had a really good time playing this one, and I'm excited to dig into it with you guys. But what did you think? I know both of you played some. I think, John, you just played a little bit of it. And DJ, did you play all the way through?
I played all the way through twice.
Whoa, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Damn.
I only did, I think, 3 levels of it because I was playing in browser on like with keyboard, and like it was incredibly hard.
Yeah, I can't. I think I've mentioned before on the podcast using like that anti-micro software to like rebind keyboard to a controller. But thankfully, this is a PICO-8 game, so even in the browser, if you do have a gamepad connected, it will work. So for me, I was able to hook up my 8-bit DOE and play with a controller. I can't even fathom playing this on mouse or just keyboard, I guess. But what about you, Deej?
Dude, I mean, that's why I had 2 playthroughs of this, because the first one I was doing on keyboard, and I was getting pissed.
I can't even imagine, because it's I don't know why. I mean, maybe if I grew up playing on keyboards and mouse keyboards, I'd get it, but like I just always play games, especially platformers, with a D-pad or a joystick. It's just impossible for me to like comprehend or to get that muscle memory down at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to coordinate 2 thumbs than like multiple fingers.
A few fingers on each hand. Yeah.
Yeah, like wall jumping for me was just a fucking chore, which is
because in this game it's not really wall jumping. You have to like hook into the wall, and it kind of like it's a pretty long grappling hook, and it kind of pulls you straight into the wall, and you kind of hold on to it at that point if you keep holding the button down. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you have to like keep jumping away from the wall and then grabbing it again to scale up it. So
yeah. There was one specific challenge like at near the beginning of the game where like there are these disappearing platforms that you have to grapple onto and then run and jump onto the next one, but like you have to keep grappling in like different directions. Like you have to like grapple forward and then grapple backward.
Yeah.
And like I knew what I had to do every single time, but I just couldn't get the muscle memory down. And like that one took me so much longer than any other challenge.
Yeah, and so you did play with the gamepad your second playthrough, Deej?
Yeah, so I ended my first one being like, there was like a strawberry I was after, and I was like, I can't fucking do this. So I finally just like, I'll just plug it in, like see if it works. Like I didn't even know if like controller would work. I was just being lazy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this just immediately feels so much better. So like my first playthrough took me 50 minutes.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah. And then I replayed it and beat it within 15 minutes.
Nice. Dude, I saw some speed runs, by the way, like people were posting on the Itch.io page, like just in the comment section, like under 3 minutes completion time.
I saw some of those.
Just like, what the fuck?
No.
Like I said, it took me about 25 minutes. And obviously these people played it multiple times because there were a few like new mechanics that get thrown into the mix. Like not only the grappling hook, but like you can pick up stuff with the grappling hook and throw it around and like kind of like Mario 2 style where you can like pick stuff up and throw it. But like you have to really precisely like you're like bouncing off of a springboard and then grabbing one out of the air and then throwing it in the air so that it lands on one tile and then landing on that tile. Like towards the end of the game, this gets pretty goddamn tough. And I did not get all the strawberries. Like I went for like, after I went for the first like few, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going for all the strawberries. And then like once I saw there was like one just way out, I was like, I don't even know how to get that.
Give up on that.
That's one thing that's nice about when I'm actually streaming. Like it's easier for me to give up on some stupid thing that I normally would just be like, I gotta get that fucking coin, like it's kind of easier for me to just be like, I just want to showcase more of this game and let me keep plugging along here. Mm-hmm. So I will, and I'll save that as like my incentive to go back if I do go back for a second playthrough, maybe go for all the strobs. But I really, I had a great time with this game. I thought it was a really cool way to celebrate the 3rd anniversary. And they even got Lena Raine in on the mix to work on the soundtrack, who I don't believe worked on the soundtrack of the first like PICO-8 version of Celeste Classic. So really cool tunes in this one.
Yeah, that was one of the main things that was keeping me going because I was like, all right, I do want to just hear more music. Like I don't really, I'm fine like dying a million times.
Yeah, the music evolves like really nicely through the playthrough. I thought it was really cool. Any more thoughts on Celeste 2?
No, I mean I was just gonna go back and say how like after plugging in the controller, it was just like I went from kind of hating the game to like actually really liking it. And
I think that might be something that I need to do in order to
definitely, John. Yeah, you definitely need to plug in a controller when you're playing this one for sure, which again with the PICO-8, not only can you play all these games in your browser, but you can, hook up a controller and play them. For some games it's necessary in my opinion. So definitely check out Celeste Classic and Celeste Classic 2 and all the different Celeste mods too. I know I've briefly mentioned Perisher from Daniel Linson. That one took me an hour and a half to beat. So they add in like a whole new mechanic where you have to push these puzzle blocks around and like get them like almost to open up gates. It's really, really cool. So I highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah.
All right, and I guess while we're talking about one game, Celeste 2, like we were saying, that you can play it in your browser. Another game that you can play in your browser, and actually I think only play in your browser, is Ugby Mumba 3. And this is a game from Milkbar Lads, who I don't think we've had the chance to mention on the podcast before. We've definitely checked out a couple of their games on our YouTube channel and whatnot. Dead Estate is probably what they're maybe most known for. They released it like right around Halloween in 2020, and they're actually expanding on that game, and it's going to be like their first full commercially released game to the best of my knowledge. But I'm super pumped. I was really into that one. Checked out Inferna as well. Was really into. They just have a bunch of cool games. But Ugby Mumba 3 is the sequel to Ugby Mumba. There is no Ugby Mumba 2 to the best of my knowledge. I don't know. These guys are super goofy, and there's a pretty I think there's like 10 or a dozen people on the team, and they really they do a lot of game jam type stuff. But they also just crank out these games, like for example, like they just kind of released Dead Estate like on Halloween or right around Halloween, and like Ugby Mumba 3 was released for Newgrounds Pixel Day. It was like in January 2021. And they made this game over the course of a month. And again, it's browser based, but it's really awesome. Like you can save your progress. Like I actually played it in one sitting and then picked it up and played again. And I actually ended up beating it earlier today. But I was able to pick up exactly where I left off with my save file. Like it just blows my mind what you can do with browser-based games these days. I'm assuming it's just using like cookies and stuff to save my save data somehow. But like either way, the fact that I could boot up a browser game, go back to the website, and pick up where I left off is unreal to me, but so cool. But I really had a great...
on that specific point, like I that's interesting because I was playing it through the itch.io webpage, and like I wasn't able to get back like my progress from the first time. I played this game twice.
Okay, interesting, because I was playing it in the itch.io app, and I don't know if that makes a difference, but maybe it somehow like catalogs a folder or something to save your progress.
Because I think there is also an exit to menu option that might. I don't think I selected that the first time that I played through it, so that may have been
like somehow didn't save the progress or something, or okay.
So,
but
that would be
I don't know,
because I think that would probably be the thing that makes me come back to the game is if my progress is saved.
Yeah, because it's a longer game. Like it took me in the two sittings. Well, I mean, not long, but it took in terms of like a web-based game, it took me like an hour and a half or 2 hours to play through, I would say. So like I would say, and this is like, but just real quick, it's like a run and gun, really like Saturday morning cartoon vibes on the pixel art and whatnot. It's got a very Caro Blaster vibe, which if you've listened to any of our previous episodes, you know I'm gushing. Like I seriously, I don't have enough good things to say about this game. I had so much fun. It is pretty challenging. I will say it gets a little easier as it goes on. Like you kind of level up and you kind of buy new hats and stuff, but you can also get like these special brownies that upgrade your health. And by the end, I think I had 9 or 10 hit points. So like I was able to take down like the latter half of the bosses. Like the latter probably 2/3 of the game took me as long as the first third of the game took me, because I was able to kind of just plow through the bosses. But like the checkpoints are pretty, you gotta cover a lot of ground to hit a checkpoint.
Yeah.
Especially maybe the first level's a little generous, but after that you really gotta, there's only like a checkpoint and then a checkpoint before the boss. So you really gotta, I don't know. I had so much fun playing this game. I don't, like I said, I don't have enough good things to say, but why don't we, John's shaking his head. So why don't you share some thoughts, John?
Yeah, I think that the checkpoint placement was a big like source of frustration for me. Like I feel like every time that I died in a level was like just like long enough for me to be frustrated to have to play like up to that same point again.
Yeah,
and like,
I got frustrated a few times, I won't lie.
And just long enough for me to like not feel like I had like either memorized the patterns or like learned the like correct reaction time. So like I was dying at the same point in like every level, and like with the same amount of progress, like I would get to maybe 5 screens with like no like damage done, and then I would get to like the same screen and immediately take like 4 points of damage, and I'm just like, this is, if there was just like one more checkpoint per level, I think that would have been like the sweet spot for me personally, just because like it was really frustrating to just like play the same level over and over again and like not feel like I'm progressing.
You could technically switch levels, right? Because it does have like an overworld map. Like you do have to play that first level, and then I think there's 4 levels after that you can pick from, and then there's one final level after you beat those 4 levels. But
and I know
what you mean, because you feel like, hey, I want to memorize like I've already played some of this, so like the best chance I'm going to have is replaying this level, not going to a new one.
Right. And like I kind of feel like when I'm playing like say a Mega Man game, like you are kind of learning patterns and learning the geography of a level, and like that's kind of like built into the experience, but like
for sure,
for whatever reason, like it wasn't really gelling with me, like the just either the mechanics or like I don't know, something about like the level design.
it's definitely a little sloppier on the control. Like, it's not as tight as a Mega Man game. Like, it's more like Carol Blaster. Like, Carol Blaster is a little floaty, but it has that mechanic where, like, when you're firing your weapon, if you move backwards, you backpedal and you keep firing in the same direction. And I really think that, like, makes it a little more tactical on the approach to each enemy and stuff. Again, like, by the end, like, once I hit some checkpoints and once I beat a few levels, got some upgrades, I feel like I was able to get through the levels much more easily. Like, I didn't even die on the last level, I don't think. So,
yeah. I don't know. I think the difference for me was that, like, I don't think I ever died to a boss, but, like, I died constantly in the levels. And that was, like, just the main point of frustration for me. Whereas, like, I would get to a boss and it would be like, yep, got this. First try.
Yeah.
And
there was one level where these fucking eggs kept hatching and these little chickens would come out and they were just whooping my ass. I was screaming while I was streaming this game, like half the time in my head and half the time out loud. But I was just like, oh man, I was cursing up a storm. But you played some of this, if not all the way through, knowing you, DJ. Were you able to plow through this one?
Yeah, I did in like an hour. I mean,
God damn it. Did you play? So I'm guessing you played keyboard, because unfortunately this game doesn't have controller support, but I just want to give another quick shout out to Anti-Micro, because I use that to remap the keyboard or rebind it. I just want to keep plugging this because I literally couldn't have played this game. I'm so bad with keyboard controls. I could have just checked it out, but I was able to play all the way through it because of this software. So, but you played on keyboard, and it's definitely not as intense on the like finesse as Celeste 2. So
yeah, I did it with keyboard, and yeah, that strafing mechanic just I thought it made the combat just so much easier. Like I could just easily back away from anything that was remotely.
That's the way you play.
endangering me.
You're so much more patient than me. Like, I'm always trying to charge ahead, but yeah, I could see you just like taking your time. Let me chip this enemy down.
Yeah. I for a second thought that maybe I'd played the wrong game when you were talking about like upgrading yourself, because I kind of gave up on like doing the shop stuff, because like, I don't know, I would just buy the most expensive shit and not really like know what it does.
Well, it's weird because some of it is like you buy a Christmas tree and it just like shows up on your island, and I think it's just like a decorative thing.
The first
Some
item
of them
is
are
always
hats
a
that you can
food
wear.
item that always upgrades your health. The next two items, I think, are hats, and then the final two items are just overworld aesthetic items.
Well,
Kind
I
of
did
like
those.
Animal Crossing, decorate your house kind of thing.
Yeah, they're most expensive.
And they're the
ones
most
are just
expensive.
decorative.
Yeah. So I did those,
every
and it was
level
just
has like 15 collectible coins, but also those coins give you health back too. So even after you've collected them, you can actually pick up like the Phantom coin, and it'll give you health back. So that's like a nice little. That's a nice little like way to pick up some health, like if you're, especially before you've picked up some of those upgrades. Or apparently you never got any of those upgrades.
No,
DJ.
I had five health ticks the whole time,
and you still beat it.
Yeah.
God damn it. Because I thought it was pretty, like, again, that my second playthrough wasn't as tough. I definitely was like, okay, this isn't as hard. And definitely not as hard as Carol Blaster, but like, I don't know. The music was amazing. Every track, every level had its own tune. I really loved all the music, loved all the pixel art. It is a little simplistic, but again, for a game that was just made on a fucking whim for this Newgrounds Pixel Day, I guess not on a whim, it was planned, but either way, it was like over the course of a month. I don't care how many people worked on this. It just blows my mind, like what people are able to do when they just set their mind to it. Basically, it's crazy to me.
Yeah,
because I would buy this game, like I would buy it on Switch and love it, and not even think about it.
I felt similarly to when I played Venture Kid or Venture Boy, whichever it is.
Venture Kid, yeah.
Yeah, like again, like good music, pretty simple, like just tight mechanics. Like it's a good time. Good way to spend an hour.
That's a perfect way to put it, because like Venture Kid is like, it's more of a Mega Man kind of thing, but it's like not as good as Mega Man, but still pretty good.
Yeah,
and I would say this is like, not as good as Carol Blaster, but still pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So
man, if they could have just like with the boss fights, like it's like they each have 3 moves, but they do it in the exact same order every time. It's just like if they could have just maybe switched that up,
shuffled those around, or and even the final boss, like spoiler alert, whatever. But I was like, there wasn't even a second form or anything. Like I was expecting, like, oh, am I gonna have? Like I was like, am I gonna have to? I know there's gonna be more, and it was just like, nope. I just saw the credits roll. Awesome. But still, it just again just blows my mind what browser-based games can do these days. So. And for what it's worth, yeah, definitely recommend downloading the Itch.io app if you're trying these games. Sometimes the browser-based games, it's not the best way to play them, but apparently, again, I was able to save my progress, so very cool. But another game that we actually all have been playing that I almost threw this out there. I don't know if I even mentioned it, but I definitely was kind of thinking about it, like cheating on our holiday episode, because I played it right before our holiday episode, and it's a game called Tiny Heist from Terry Cavanagh, and I almost made this one of my top games of the year, even though we never talked about it on the podcast yet. But I was just like, I was so fucking hooked when I first played it, and I was just like, it was more like I wanted to kind of force myself to talk about it on the podcast. So John had mentioned in our Discord, like, hey, throw some stuff out there that you want me to check out that's available on Apple, and we'll use that for today's episode. So I mentioned, like, yeah, I really want to get back into Tiny Heist, and I only was able to play a few more runs today, and it's a top-down roguelike stealth action game, I guess, but it's like roguelike in the truest sense, where it is like turn-based. Like you can very much move quickly, and it feels like an action game, but like you can move one step at a time, or even hit a button to like stay in place and progress like the other guards and cameras and all that. And there's just like, I don't know. To me, this game is just so well designed in the sense that like everything you can see in like the fog of war and the top, like you can just see like the cone of vision. I guess they're not cones, but the vision for all the cameras and the enemies, and the way you can disable those enemies and disable those cameras and stuff like that. Like I just think this game is so polished. It's like basically just get through 15 floors. But the thing that blows my mind too, another reason I wanted to bring this game up, is that Terry Cavanagh, who, you know, is maybe more well known for games like VVV, or Dicey Dungeons more recently, like definitely has commercially released games. And this game, to me, other than the fact that there's like no music, and it's only a bummer because Terry always comes up with some great music, whether he writes it or whether other people make it for his games, because I know Chipsel did the soundtrack for Dicey Dungeons. But either way, like that's always another huge element of his games, and that I love. And that, like, if this game had this, I would easily pay like $15 for this on Switch. I mean, I'm a sucker for a roguelike, playing it over and over. Like, it's such a good pick up and play experience. I'm just like, it blows my mind that he would just put something out there like this for free. But what have you guys been thinking about this game so far? Because yeah, like I've already said, I'm a huge fan.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should be a slightly dissenting voice.
Ooh, yeah.
Go ahead, DJ. Be a downer.
It's like, oh yeah, fuck you. All right. I liked the challenge of it for the most part. Like it is very like strategic, and like for the most part, you like have all the information you need to make, you know, good decisions. There's, you know, some exceptions, and maybe I'm just used to like Invisible Ink in particular, where you can kind of get knowledge about like where an enemy is gonna go, because that's not always apparent, but
that's what the wait button's for.
Yeah, but that wastes time, baby. And like the more time you waste, the sooner another guy comes in.
Risk and reward.
Or wakes back up if you've taken out a guard, you know, and not completely, because you can pick up items too. Like you can get a gun and actually kill a guard, but you can also like just kind of knock them out from behind, and they'll wake up after a few turns or whatever.
Yeah, don't use the gun, man. Are you
kidding me? I'm blowing these guards away, man.
And how far have you gotten?
Yeah,
I think I've made it to like the 8th floor, and I think there's 15 total, if I'm not mistaken.
Total.
I've made it to like the 7th or 8th floor.
I've only made it to the 4th. Good lord!
And it's hard. It ramps up quick because like it starts adding more and more fog of war, because you get items like not only guns and weapons or whatever, but you get like a light bulb where you can use it and like, oh, this is a totally darkened level. Let me just light it up right off the bat, and I can see everything, including all the enemies and stuff.
Yeah, they do have some cool items like the door one where you could just place on any wall and it just creates a passage.
Yo.
Oh, I actually don't think I've ever gotten that item.
Oh shit. It's rare, but yeah, cool stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
But
Yes,
I do
John?
love that it is just like procedurally generated. Like this is like based on Rogue where, you know, like it's not planned levels. There's not a set solution. You kind of need to learn the mechanics of like, oh, what does a dog do versus what does like a sentry robot or like
Right.
what are the patterns of these cameras? Like what path are they going to take? So you do kind of just have to learn the mechanics, and I do.
It's very
like
puzzly. Like it gets like puzzly almost.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this in the Discord. Like I like that, like in the ingenuity that it takes to just kind of like learn those like overall mechanics. But I think I do love like Terry Cavanagh best when he's like designing specific levels and like specific puzzles that have a solution. Like I was bringing up Naya's Quest, which is like an isometric platformer that is like a 3D platformer in a 2D space that uses like kind of how like Super Mario 3D Land will like you have to use the 3D to see like depth on certain things. So like that's like Naya's Quest is like all like there's a set solution to every puzzle and you just need to figure it out. And like
even VVV is like a giant Metroidvania, but also like a bunch of single screen, like Super Meat Boy-esque challenges. You know, it's like it's very designed, it's very handcrafted.
And I really do think that like Terry Cavanagh works best in those like specific puzzles, or at least that's what I like most of his projects. Like
For sure, yeah.
I've still never beaten Super Hexagon because that's just.
Oh, I don't. Can you even beat that game? I can barely, dude. Like that game blows my mind because you can play for like, you feel like you've played for 2 minutes. You've had like, oh man, I've had the best run ever, and it's like 12 seconds.
Yes.
It's like, what the fuck? That game is so good. Oh, it's so great. It's so simple. You know, it's just a left and right 2-button game. It's just so cool.
In the same way, like I did get sucked into this game. Like I played so many runs, but like runs take only a few seconds.
Yeah, I just got so sucked in. Like that was my experience, and I was like, if I had this on Switch where I could just fire it up and play it in bed and do a couple quick runs, like I would happily buy this game. So that I was just kind of baffled by like, because Terry Cavanagh has a bunch of cool free games, but also has a bunch of commercial games. So I was just kind of curious, is like, I wonder why he didn't like see this one through to the end, if you will. You know, I even though I'm sure he considers it a finished game, you know, but I just kind of, I would have bought it. I would happily give him money for this game.
You can buy Dicey Dungeons.
Switch. Yeah, exactly. I need to get that game too. Damn.
I mean,
but DJ, any final thoughts on any dissenting final thoughts on Tiny Heist?
I don't know. Like it's not that this game wasn't fun, but it made me want to play Invisible Ink more, for whatever it's worth.
Okay,
like,
that's totally fair.
Yeah, which John, I think you would really love, and it's something you could take advantage of on the PS4.
Right. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, John, because I need to dig deeper into that game because it's like it. There's so many elements that I like about that game, but it's like too much. I don't know. Maybe I need you to break it down for me.
And to me, like you were saying, you know, that with the lack of music here, I thought the Tiny Heist was maybe just a tad too bare, and like, you know, with Invisible Ink, it's just like, okay, this is awesome graphics in my opinion, and
it's got a really cool aesthetic.
Yeah,
and across the board, it's got a really cool aesthetic. Yeah,
and I think it's really good about being clear about the information it's presenting you, but still being a hard as hell game. So.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. Yeah. But I guess one more game that we wanted to briefly mention before we wrap things up tonight that John and I both played through, and I kind of just threw this out there because it took me about like 15 minutes to play through, and it was just such a bizarre, wacky, like just one of a kind of experience that I was just like, hey, if anybody has 15-20 minutes to spare, why don't you check out The Good Time Garden? And this is a game from Cole Supper. And that's not a person's name. That's like Cole, like, you know, Santa gave you some coal for Christmas. But Cole Supper. And it's you know, it is a game, and it's like a top-down adventure puzzle game, I guess, more like almost like a point and click. I mean, you're in direct control, but like it's very simplistic. You're not really having to finesse any movements or anything. It's just kind of like figure out what you need to do. And it's a pretty leisurely game, but it's just so bizarre. Like the game kind of caught my eye just because like the title screen or whatever, the thumbnail on Itch.io is like this GIF of this just face with like this bulbous like pimples or whatever, just kind of like festering. I don't know. It just looks kind of gross, but it kind of caught my eye. So I was like, what is this game all about? And then, like I said, I played all the way through it, and I was just like, I did a stream and playthrough, and it's on our YouTube channel too. But like the whole video, I was just like laughing the whole time while I played this game because it's just so nuts. And like, I don't want to spoil too much while we talk about it, but like, what was your experience with this game, John?
Yeah, so I played like, it's got like little objectives and like quote unquote chapters, I guess, for like each individual puzzle that you're like returning back to an area. That
it's like a very scripted sequence of events, kind of.
Yeah, and like I did maybe 2 of them before I was like, okay, I gotta like play this with Lauren. Like she needs to like see this, because like it was something that I knew she would be entertained by. And like as I was playing it, like I don't think I was enjoying it necessarily, but like Lauren did really like it by the end.
Yeah, I know you were mentioning that. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, she was kind of like being a little bit of a smart ass and being like, oh, this is the best game you've ever played for the podcast. Or like, this is so much better than Dark Souls.
Yeah,
but like,
the Age of Calamity out of here.
Yeah, I think like it is a very unique game in that I don't think I've ever played a game like it, but like
same.
I don't think it's necessarily like a unique piece of media, in that like I feel like I've seen either short videos that are very similar like it, or like art installations even that are similar to it, because it has kind of this it's a very nice looking game.
It's like hand animated, like 2D hand animated, really like clean,
very smooth. Yeah, like
very, and it's like mostly like pink and like peach colors. Like it's just got a really like polished, really nice aesthetic.
Vibe. Yeah, but like it also has like this vulgarity to it.
Yeah, it's
like,
kind of gross.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things that are just like genitalia like everywhere.
Yeah, like even your character, you can just like if you're walking north, like you can just see your character's butt cheeks. Just like very and well defined.
Also, if you use the pick up mechanic, like you can just see like their penis like as they bend over. Like I mean, you can always see it when they're front, like facing front ways, but like also when you're like from behind, it just like pokes out, and it's like, cool, okay, I guess. Like,
yeah, it's very deliberate in its vulgarity. Yeah,
and it has voice acting, and like that's very funny, and they use the voice acting like for humor and like all
it's so good,
and like
it's so good.
But at the same time, like I was like, as I was playing it, like I don't think I was actually like enjoying playing it, but like I was thinking like as I like, because Lauren loved it, and I was like, man, if this was like a short video, I think I would have like. I absolutely would have liked it, and like, but like, I think that I'm glad that it is a game, because I think that I like that it is a stranger game, and that there is I think there's a space for games like this, and I like that it's doing that in a thing that, or in a medium that doesn't typically have stuff like this, or if it does, it has it in like, I don't know, like a Toe Jam and Earl, or like a like.
I know what you mean.
Like I feel like a lot of games like try to have like edgy humor or like a weird like internet thing, but like this one I think actually does set a really good surreal like vulgar.
Like it's kind of like, for lack of any other reference. It's a frame of reference. It's kind of like Adult Swim-esque, I guess.
Kind of, but
it's
like it's. I honestly I think that's reductive. Like I think
it's more mature or whatever. And I hate to use that word even, but it's not like just potty humor. Like like you can see your character's butt cheeks and you can see their genitalia, but it's not like making jokes about that. Like it's just there.
Like I honestly, I feel like this is feels more at home in like an art gallery or something.
Yeah.
And I think that like I really like the fact that it is a game because I don't think there are games like this, and I like that aspect of it. But like we looked up Cole Suppers, Lauren was really interested in them, and like one of the guys is just an animator and like an illustrator, and like she was going through his portfolio and like just showing me all of like the concept art that he was doing for this game, as well as like other stuff and like other paintings he's done. And it's just really talented, and I liked that like aspect of it. Like even if like maybe I didn't enjoy the game as much, I think it's a good like I don't know.
It's more of an experience than a game, I think, is probably the best way to put it, or a way to put it at least. Because it is like, I feel like I would have got just as much out of it watching someone play as I did playing it. Like and again, maybe even more so, because I wouldn't have been like frustrated, like, where am I supposed to go? I would have just been watching it and being like, what the fuck is going on? Because it is bizarre. Yeah. Like there's these weird like frogs, these weird birds. It's crazy. It's a crazy game.
But it does control well, and it's a very well made game. Like
it's so polished. It's like really, really polished. Yeah.
Yeah. I never feel like it being a game hindered its experience. I just feel like that specific thing, because it is so unique, I don't know, to being a game like that. I didn't really have like the frame of reference or the mindset to approach like it in its appropriate level, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. And hopefully to everybody else too. Yeah. But yeah, I think we can probably wrap up the games talk there for this week, unless you had anything more to add on the Good Time Garden, John. But I'd love to get Lauren's thoughts sometime, just out of curiosity. I'm very curious what she thought about that game. Yeah, but we can probably wrap things up there for this week. I did want to just give a quick shout out. We've been checking out a bunch of demos lately on our Twitch and on our YouTube. So I think I'm going to have a YouTube playlist set up with demos. Like one that I checked out recently, I'm not going to get into it, but it's GigaSword. You've got to check. If you like Metroidvanias and puzzle platformers, you got to check out this game. You're like this character that carries this heavy sword around that when you can actually like stab it into the ground, and when the sword is stabbed into the ground, you can jump higher. So it's kind of using this, you kind of have to like use your sword and like stab it into this elevator that'll take it up to a higher level that you can jump up to. It's just a really cleverly designed game. And again, we've been checking out probably at least a dozen demos or so, and I've been kind of doing a little more of that lately. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that playlist. And again, we're on Twitch and YouTube all the time. We've got a nice easy way to find all our stuff on the internet now at linktree/pursuingpixels, but otherwise we're at pursuingpixels.com, and we're on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. But again, Linktree is probably the easiest way to just find all our stuff. And if you hear my radiators clanking in the background, I've been doing my best to edit those out. But they're fucking clanking like crazy right now. So I'm just going to say that I'm probably not going to be able to edit out of this outro. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening as always. And we'll catch you next week. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Damn, I forgot to mention Colors of Your World too.
Yeah, well, I'll try to get it on next time then.
Dude, all I have to say, this is what I was going to say when I said I was going to talk about it later. I played the main campaign, took me like at the end when you beat it, it tells you how long it took you. Under 6 minutes. I played the challenge mode before the podcast today. I think I was on the final screen. I'm not sure, but I played for over an hour and I still couldn't fucking beat it. It is so goddamn hard. DJ, in particular, you gotta play this game. It's so fucking hard.
I have to play all the hard games, huh?
Well, I mean, I just think you would really like it.
Ugby Mumba was hard, apparently.
It's not hard.
It wasn't hard when I came back to it, but I still think it's overall pretty tough.
Frustrating because
I think it's like retro frustrating.
I don't want to take my time. I don't want to be patient. I just want to go as fast as possible, and
I just want to keep running to the right.
And then the fucking snowflakes hit me, and I'm like, this sucks.
Oh, those snowflakes! Fucking those snowballs in Celeste 2. It took me forever to figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay. So the snowball thing, and then there was one part, the part right before that where you could fall down that pit. It took me forever because I was like trying to like get up to this higher elevation. I was like, no, you can't fall down here. And then eventually I fell. I thought I was going to die. And I was like, no, you could. This is where I'm supposed to go. I was so pissed. But